Allow me to kick off this particular engagement. And first of all, once again, to thank you all for joining us. Young by Young is an initiative by young individuals, vibrant minds, people who feel there is more that Africa can offer. There is more that the youth in Africa can find in the opportunities that technology presents to us. The Industry 4.0 is big and it's here to stay. There are very, very many things most of us have heard about: the Internet of Things, cloud computing, fintechs. All this is part of the whole engagement. Blockchain. All this is part of the engagement when it comes to the Industry 4.0. And if we are not in tune with this, even our businesses, despite the fact that we may be running our own informal sector related businesses, we really can't place the importance of technology, importance of this particular new age that is called the gig economy, and how this is going to work. Initially, and in the past webinar, we had Peter Ndiangui, the founder and CEO, GoBeba, who basically gave us a very good roadmap on what marketplaces would look like and what it means today to have services on platforms. I mean, you providing a platform as a service. So it is very important to know that on all this, the only thing we can do, and one of the things that Keva is going to mention to us, is that the customer, or rather the customer, will always bring in the revenue to your organization. But you, as the people in that company, as the employees, have to drive the experience. So are we willing to learn? Are we willing to grow? Are we willing to see what it is that we have to look out for when it comes to matters, customer experience, and especially in the new paradigm? And in all this, we all have to grow to understand our customer of the future, to understand that we have, at some point, Generation Y is dictating how businesses will run. And now we have another Generation Z coming along. And we need to know, is your customer important to your business, or are you the one who's important to your customer? What value are you creating? What value are you adding? Born and raised in the Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. By the way, Trinidad and Tobago, these are one of the I would say wealthiest countries in the Caribbean. By the way, it's good for you to know that. So we have a very wealthy speaker today who's coming to join us, and she will tell us more about how much wealth she has in Trinidad, because I believe she has a lot of investment there. All right, that's on a lighter note. Our guest today is here with a mission to inspire our way of thinking. Actually, she views life as a journey of continuous learning. Keva, in her journey, has worked on projects from conceptualization to execution in both customer-facing, that interaction bit, and in the back end, back of the house roles at various levels in service-oriented sectors like event management. All of us have at least interacted with most of the events we have locally in our own communities and our jurisdictions, for all of us, and those who are joining us from across the world. Education sector, she's been there, she's put her experience and the role that she has had to play in that particular sector. In the financial sector, banking sector. So she is currently a public management analyst operating in the public administration field. Without further ado, and I think at this particular point, as we start off this particular session, with a round of applause, and I think you can do those applauses on your screens. I mean, just take a chance to do that. For those who have been enabled, you can always clap, enable your camera or your what do you call it, your audio, and clap for Keva. So as we welcome Keva, and I believe Keva is with us, welcoming Keva on screen, we would like to say thank you very much for making time to be here with us, and we welcome you to take off this particular presentation and inspire us before we can expire, because we never know what tomorrow brings. Thank you very much.
I love that, inspire before we can expire. I'm definitely gonna take that one and use it at some point in time in the future. But hello everybody. I'm not seeing enough cameras on. I'd really like to feel my audience, see who's there. I know we have about 15 or so persons online, 16 to be exact. Come on,
So
turn
let's feel
on
free
your
to have
cameras,
our
don't be
cameras.
shy. If I have to put on my
Okay.
camera, I think it's only fair that you do. Yeah? Okay.
Well, some may be,
Again,
Keva, don't
thanks,
worry. Some
James.
of them may be in the kitchen trying to cook something delicious for their evening meal. So they may not want for us to see
I mean,
the
that's fine.
beautiful and delicious meal here. But yes, welcome.
Well, let's hope that they at least share with us after.
Yeah.
So again, thank you, James. Thank you, Abojani. Thank you, Young by Young, for having me. It's really an honor. When this opportunity was first presented, I was a bit hesitant. I wouldn't lie, but you know, it's amazing how the world has really gotten smaller, even though borders are closed. You know, at the beginning of the year, I bought this scratchable map because I had so many travel goals and plans for this year, and I said, okay, I'm gonna knock off some places on my map. And well, we all know what the situation is right now, and I mean, I could say that I'm virtually in Kenya right now. I feel as though I'm close to you. That's why I also want to see the cameras on, so I could really feel as though I'm there, you know. Before we actually begin, James, permit me, you know, I tend to get carried away a little bit when I'm talking, but I guess it's just a matter of the passion. Before we begin, as you said, I understand that members of the audience, some people are cooking, some would have already been out for the day. What time is it now? It's about 9:30 a.m. by me. So some of us are now starting the day. And with that said, I just want us to kind of get into a state of mindfulness and really adjust and do away with what frustrations or even delights that may have happened for the day already or have not happened. Just take away yourself from all those expectations and be in the present, because what we're going to go through, talk, as he mentioned, my mission is really about thinking and perception and how we view this whole concept of customer experience, the idea of the new normal that you know, I don't think we could hear that enough, or I think we've heard it enough about the new normal. And you know, James, you shared with me the responses from the registration as to what people expected from this session, which again, just want to stress, it's supposed to be very interactive, an interview. Really want to see the people in the audience. I'm going to say it until I see more people's cameras on.
All right, can we have some hands raised now? Because I need to ensure this happens. Great. Mike. So I'm promoting you.
Nice. So yes, just going through the different expectations that people have for the session today. And some of them really made me chuckle a bit. Somebody said, I have no idea. And a lot of people said that they want to learn. So I just want to, again, set the tone with this quote by Eric Hoffer, a philosopher. And I tend to get a little philosophical at times. And it goes like this. In a time of drastic change, it is the learners who inherit the future. The learned usually find themselves equipped to live in a world that no longer exists. So just going to leave that with you all for now. And James, take it away.
Good. Thank you very much.
Hello, Mike.
And of course,
nice to see you.
Yes. Glad. I mean, anybody else who basically wants to be have their video enabled, please feel free as we take off this particular session. Don't be shy. It's good, first of all, to have that particular interaction with you. It's good for you to see that you can engage willingly and openly without necessarily having to worry too much about what people say about what you have in mind. This is part of customer experience, trying to improve how you look at things and how you experience things. So Bill Gates said that your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learning. So one of the things that I think he has learned over time, and I think later on Keva will share a little bit more about some of the richest people in the world, what they've had to say about customers and what customers do to them. It's important.
Yeah, don't give away any surprises.
Those irate customers are the ones that basically make you realize the things that you really need to work on. And at this particular point, we'd like to know, Keva, Trinidad and Tobago, give us a bit about Trinidad, because we really need to understand. It might be the next tourist destination after the what do you call it? The corona lockdowns have been opened up and now we can travel. We need to know whether we have an opportunity of enjoying some of the beautiful islands in Trinidad and some of the beautiful sites there. So kindly give us a bit of a snippet of what Trinidad looks like, the culture, amazing people that are there, including you being one of the amazing people I've interacted with already. Keva?
Yes. Okay, well, as you mentioned before, Trinidad and Tobago, well, it's actually 2 islands, 1 country, and we really have the best of both worlds, where Trinidad, which is where I live, is more the business, the city life, that the industrial side of things, and then Tobago gives you the typical island life type of atmosphere and environment. And well, I see you have some good information here, James, that we are independent since 1962, and you know, our past with colonization and so forth has really led to a diverse, a wide variety, a mix of people. I mean, it's not really easy to look at somebody and say, okay, you are a Trini. And throughout the presentation, I will be using some dialect. So a Trini is what you call a Trinidadian or Trinbagonian. So you can't really tell if they're African, Indian, what descent they really come from. And we call ourselves a melting pot of cultures and a diverse set of people. Our culture is, again, you know, because of our past and all of these different influences from our food, our music, the way we dress, etc. One big thing about Trinis is that we love our public holidays. So yesterday was a public holiday, Labor Day. We do accept and really come together with, you know, the Muslims, the Christians, the Hindus. So there's no real segregation really when it comes to religion and culture. We eat the same food, we interact with each other, we attend the celebrations for the different religions. So we're really a melting pot. And on the screen there, I see you have the steel pan, which is our invention, our musical instrument shared with the world. Some of you all may know it as a steel drum and would have heard it in movies, in some songs as well. And it's reached as far as China and Japan, you know, where people have really taken to this instrument, this invention of the 21st century. I believe it was the only musical instrument created. And in terms of natural resources, well, we have a saying here in Trinidad and Tobago that God is a Trini, right? Because we are really blessed. James mentioned that we are the wealthiest country in the Caribbean. And we really have a lot to be thankful and grateful for in terms of our natural resources, oil and gas being our main GDP earner, but we know the situation with that globally and movements towards more renewable energy. So we are diversifying, looking further into our tourism. That panel in the middle there gives you some stats. It's from 2014, but we all have access to the internet and could look up a little further. The picture there, Maracas Beach, that's one of our most common, most famous tourist attractions. So you know when you come to Trinidad and Tobago, you have to go to Maracas Beach and have a bake and shark. Some people say shark and bake, but you have a bake and shark. And then over to the right-hand side, those are two of our most popular soca artists. Soca is an indigenous type of music, genre of music here. And that's the one in the sailor suit. You heard from him, that's Marshall Montano. You heard his music at the beginning. And the one across to the right, that's Kes. And in the middle, if you could recognize her, that's Nicki Minaj, who says that she is part Trini as well. So just sharing with you all some of our famous people.
Well, it would be good to know. Thank you very much, Keva.
Being our very popular festival.
Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of interesting things that happen back home. That's the reason why maybe you're in tune with being a customer champion, because there's a lot of activity happening there, and keeping people engaged and happy is one of the things that you value the most. It's a very good thing. But it's good to ask, for those who basically have their cameras on, those are the participants, I would love to know from you, what is customer experience? If you can actually, if anybody is willing to just raise their hand, I can allow you to speak as we go on with this. Is anybody willing to just say something kindly? Anyone can say something, what they think about customer experience. I would like to give our participants a chance. Brenda, Eva, anybody wants to say something? I can actually give them a chance. I want you to tell me what you think what is customer experience according to you, before Keva now delves into this particular matter. Anyone? Just raise your hand. Anyone here wants to speak? We just want to listen and enjoy.
Okay. Okay, I don't see where to raise my hand. It's disappeared. But you can hear me, James?
Yes, Mike. Yes, I can hear you very well. Thank you very much. Karibu sana, Mike.
Yeah, asante sana. Hi, Keva. Can she hear me? Yeah, great. I hope to
assume that means, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Yeah, I definitely hope to visit Trinidad and Tobago one day. I've been to 47 countries, but not in the Caribbean as such. But for me, customer experience goes beyond the conventional customer service. So it's much more than selling a product or a service, but goes into the kind of relationship and interaction between the business and the customer beyond that, in ensuring the service or the product is going well, in dealing with any issues or problems that might arise, and being able to cultivate a relationship that means that the customer keeps on coming back for additional services in future and is happy and contented with the product. So it's a longer term relationship that ensures that the customer not only enjoys the product, but enjoys the way in which it was sold, delivered, the attention they were given when they were there and beyond that, and the fact that they are valued and considered to be important and integral to the business.
Sweet.
Thank you very much.
So if this was a live, we were in the same room, this would be a time for me to give a token to say, you have the perfect answer. I mean, you hit a lot of the key elements there, right on the head. But we'll still talk. I'll share my perspective and experience with you all.
I think it's very good, Keva, to see that Mike also confirms that it's more of a partnership. It's part of the product and service life cycle for any particular organization. So customer experience becomes very key in that particular regard. So Keva, you can tell us a little bit about why the theme, the new normal imperative, customer experience, the new normal imperative. How can we digest that part, imperative? Why was this particular theme chosen in this particular current disposition? Please.
I mean, I think that you know, I was born to do this, you know, and really focus on understanding people, because I feel like a lot of the issues in the world stem from a lack of understanding and taking the time to understand. Now, we have to also appreciate that ignorance is something that exists, right? Where people just don't know what they don't know. But, you know, taking a step further, or really, as I said, being mindful of situations and contexts, that's where your way and your perspective changes, you know? So, as I said, I feel as though just like a teacher who says that, you know, I was born to be a teacher, that this is a vocation, this is my life, or an educator rather, because I've heard some people make the distinction between teacher and educator. As a customer experience champion, in my DNA, you know, these are the 5 areas that I think make me or allow me to call myself a customer experience champion. You know, being adaptable, having worked in various different positions, organizations, countries, interacted with different people, you know, I've been able to find ways to make things happen, even with scarce resources or none at all. You know, in particular, as a public relations officer in an NGO, the Girl Guides Association of Trinidad and Tobago, which is a member of the World Association for Girl Guides and Girl Scouts. You know, a lot of the projects that we would have undertaken were on a little to no budget. So using past experiences, past relationships, you know, networking has enabled me to better understand how to adapt and still meet goals. And then, well, ultimately being service oriented, committed to this idea of excellence, and the fact that no man is an island, even though I live on an island. No man is an island, and people need people at the end of the day. So I'm really driven to transform customer experiences with a holistic approach and mindset of empathy. So that's really how I define myself as a customer experience champion. It's not a title that's been given to me by an organization. And I feel this is also one of those things where, you know, like leaders, you don't have to be the CEO or a manager or title supervisor to be a leader in your organization, in your community. You know, it's really about what you do, your actions, your words, and consistency.
Great. Thank you. And in that particular light, as you speak about service-oriented design and, of course, comparing product-oriented versus service-oriented businesses. And there's some few things I know you've done in terms of your portfolio. I don't know whether we can just have a bit of that, just to take us through what it is that basically encourages you to look at customer experience and champion it within your own. It's like it's in your DNA. That's what you do. That's what you live by. So it is good to know exactly some of the things that basically have made you really appreciate and run through with this particular engagement, knowing very well this is what we need to actually appreciate going forward. Thank you.
Okay, sure, no problem. Hi, Santo, for joining us. Nice to see you. Yes, you could just wave. Well, my training, my undergrad was in hospitality and tourism management. So that's where a lot of the foundation for people and service really was built and fostered. And then when I completed my undergrad, I felt like, well, there was one course in particular that I did, and it was called Services Marketing. And that was my like eureka moment, you know, when I was like, I don't want to just work in a hotel or get into destination marketing. I'm not discounting or discrediting those jobs or professions, but I felt like there was something more that I needed to do to contribute or leave my mark on in this world, right? Because again, I apologize for being so philosophical, but that's just the way I am. And I really I gravitated to the idea of the 4 P's of marketing, which many of y'all may know or may not know: price, product, place, promotion. And then the services marketed added on 3 more P's to that. And it was people, processes, and physical evidence. And when I saw that, I said, that's my niche. That's what I'm going to focus on. So with that in mind, I did my research and I came across this new school of thought, a new field called service design, which really captured those 3 elements, you know, looking at how the people, the processes, and the tangible elements that make up a service or a product, how those come together, they synergize and deliver to the customer in harmony. So as you see here on the screen, this is my research done at the University of Warwick. It was very exploratory because festival research is considered emerging new territory in academia. And this is actually based on my father's event, and I believe he's in the audience, so he could wave his hand as well, or his camera may not be on. But this was a really great experience to work with his organization and to bring the theory into you know, real life, make those synergies. And the motivation and so forth behind it would have been, as you all saw there scrolling on the left hand side, some of my past projects, from wedding coordination, planning, doing actual PR, marketing, creating flyers, etc. You know, a diverse range of experiences has really led to where I am right now.
You talked about service design. Very interesting. I know there
Yes.
has always been a confusion, and for us in the technology field and of course in consultancy, we talk about service design and then we try to relate that to design thinking. And you know, there are 2 totally distinct definitions to that. But as we delve into service design, and before we really get into the idea of service design, what steps does one need to incorporate in terms of implementing and enhancing customer experience in their businesses? And I think it is good for us and for you to really help us see where are we coming and where are we going. I mean, we have this disruption that has happened, COVID-19. Of course, we can look at all other technological advances that have taken place in terms of ensuring and seeing how customer experience has been and morphed over time. So maybe you can give us a little bit of that in terms of what has really happened, what is happening in the field right now, what should we look out for? And based on the research that you've done, I know there's quite a lot of information that you may have gained and picked out of that. So please kindly just take us through that particular idea of, yes, exactly, the major events that would really take us through this particular journey of customer experience.
Well, you know, history has really demonstrated that past global crises, pandemics, threats, just major changes have really changed the way people operate, how they function, how they purchase and use goods and services, if they're even able to purchase goods and services. And even more so, these events, so, World War II, the 9/11 attacks, and these are things that, yes, they may not have happened in our jurisdiction. They have had an impact on the way we are able to function, remotely from those situations. And it's led to, shifts in how governments and economies have structured themselves, and the mindsets ultimately have changed. So I just wanted people to kind of appreciate that with change comes the need to understand what are the effects really on people. And also, I feel as business persons, entrepreneurs, owners, etc., we like to distance ourselves from the customer and put them up on a pedestal, when we too are customers at the end of the day, so it's just a matter of putting yourself in their shoes. This COVID-19 public health crisis, people's behaviors and their fears are going to increase. So what are we as service providers, product developers going to do? What is our responsibility to help people to cope and transition through these great changes? A lot of people would have lost their jobs. You have conversations about AI and robots taking the place of humans in call centers, etc. Are we just going to allow that to, build up, or what are we going to do for the people that are alive? Because people still need to eat, they still need to live.
Yeah.
So how are we now going to? Yes, we want to take advantage of the digital, but how are we going to connect?
Yeah.
So a little bit of.
Yeah, and because in the wake of all this, and now that you told us about how major events will shape the experience, and in the wake of all this now COVID-19, how would an individual, not even necessarily, but organizations, how will they provide a holistic customer experience for the consumer in that regard? Because like you mentioned, we are all customers. Organizations need to understand that the employees are still your customers, in as much as you may have a client base that you have to serve. So the whole idea of partnership. What partnership do you have with your employees? What partnership do you have with your suppliers? What partnership do you have with your partners or the people that you're affiliated with when it comes to companies? So what will be your to-go-to tools and techniques in a situation like COVID-19? In a situation like Industry 4.0 is here, are we really, as companies, really willing to basically go the extra mile to invest in technology? And that technology means necessarily that then we have been able to accomplish and met the customers' expectations, So what really would it mean to put together a customer experience platform or framework in the organization?
Well, before I go into that and what you have there on your screen, I'm really interested to know what are the results from the poll before I get into this.
If we can just, yes, let's just share the results of the poll.
Okay. So the majority of us here in the audience believe that customer experience equates to good customer service.
Yeah.
And then the other major one, which I thought would be actually not the number one response, but again, you can't assume. That's why you try to listen and hear out your audience and see where they are coming from. So, all right, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I hope that this slide here now kind of shakes up those people who thought that customer experience means good service. I mean, to some people, yes, that may be true, but what I really want you all to appreciate is that the customer's experience is not just that core when they actually step foot in your restaurant, or when they actually have the phone in their hand. You know, the customer's experience is a cycle, and it's an ongoing cycle of the before, the during, and after. And we really want to, again, zone in on the fact that customer experience is the entirety of all of the interactions that a customer has with your company, your service, your product, and ultimately your brand, because all of those make up your brand. Brand is not just a logo or a catchy slogan, right? Your brand, you as a person, you know, Walter has a particular brand. James has a particular brand. Keva has a brand. So what is it that I want people to feel, know, perceive, and then share? Because we are in a world where word of mouth is very, that can make or break us. You know, that is king. People say cash is king, word of mouth is king, because that's where the cash will come from. So yes, so we really want you to think of the customer experience as a cycle, looking at it before, during, after. What are those, the touch points? That might be a word that some of you have heard, or points of interaction that help the customer to better understand what you're trying to achieve. And I mean, again, going back to my research into festivals, etc., I'm not sure if anybody's ever heard of the festival called Tomorrowland. You could do a little wave or something if you have.
Yes, most of us should have. I think it's been famous, very famous back home here.
Okay.
Yes, one of the largest events in the world, entertainment events.
Yes, and you know, in my research, they really kind of benchmarked Tomorrowland as an event that really understands customer experience. Because to many, they think that I want to have an event and it's going to happen. I just set a date, time, venue, and then all of the magic will happen, right? But they really have an ongoing experience where year round they do things to engage and keep building that Tomorrowland ambassador, that person who says, I am definitely going to Tomorrowland next year. And it, of course, climaxes in the actual event. And then post-event, they do things like, you know, yoga days and all these sort of things. Again, just to create your ambassadors and your champions for your brand. Those are who are going to continually have it at top of mind awareness. You know, that's really what you want to achieve, top of mind awareness. Oops, James, you mute. James, you muted. Uh-oh. We can't hear you. I think you're good. No. Oh, the world of technology, you see? Always have some glitch.
All right. Can you hear me? Sorry about that. I mean, I'm saying it was impressive. Thank you very much for mentioning Tomorrowland. And I was saying that God rest DJ Avicii's soul, because he was very much into that particular kind of entertainment, helping all of us get in together. It was a very huge networking event. And that was very impressive. How that, of course, it is good to know that as a very good case study, Tomorrowland will be one of those events or activities that will actually bring to light matters of customer experience. But please, just briefly, the benefits of this, and before we get into the benefits of this customer experience, do you really believe, Keva, that the customer is always right? Is the customer always right? Yeah, I know we've always said, I mean, and I think we have that in many organizations where the senior management or even the board would say that please, whatever the customer wants, give it to them. Is it always that the customer will be right at any point in time? And how do you navigate in those? Because some of the expectations from all the individuals and who are the participants was dealing with irate clients, dealing with stubborn customers. And if the customer is stubborn but they're right, do you just let them have their way? So what do you think about that?
Well, I forgot that you also asked me, so I will come to that because that is a burning issue for me, a peeve. Yeah. But you did ask me about some tools and techniques to really understand the customer's experience. And two go-tos, almost like, you can't go wrong with using these things, would be your persona canvases and customer journey mapping. That is, I mean, as you see that quote there from More Than Metrics, which is a company founded by Mark Stickdorn. He is like one of the pioneers of service design thinking and tools and methodologies. So I will encourage you all to check out these resources. But ultimately, as I said, this is like the foundation of understanding customer journeys and customer experience, where you build out. It's more than just saying or looking at demographics, that's static information about age and location and so forth. That's back in the day thinking, right? We've progressed. We want to use disruptive technologies. Well, people need to understand that technology is not just digital. A pen is a form of technology, right? Mm-hmm. So similarly, this idea of the persona canvas, that's a form of technology that will help you to better understand and market and relate to your customers. And then mapping is actually visualizing. I mean, I don't know if any of y'all have seen Hangover. Sorry that this is the the analogy that I'm using. But when he had that experience with seeing all of the different equations and so forth in front of him, that's how my mind operates on a daily basis. Always mapping out and seeing from step by step, walking through what the customer goes through. I think you have some examples of what these canvases look like, James? Yeah. So these are the things, again, just to better understand people, understand their fears, their headaches, pain points. These are not terms, just catchphrases and terms to use loosely. Customers rarely have pain points. And again, we are all customers, so we know what frustrates us when we want to conduct business. This here is an example of mapping. You could look at the high level journey, and then you could also break it down. Again, because it's those little things that we miss that could really jeopardize the customer satisfaction. Smartly there. I see a comment come in there.
Yes,
Okay,
Keva?
we could come back to that.
Yep.
Hello? Hello, hello?
Hello, Keva? Yes?
Yes. I saw a question come in there about, can Keva speak more about the customer experience cycle? How does the post-purchase aspect, especially as a completed cycle, reconnect with the pre-purchase? So, again, as I'd really reference to that case study with Tomorrowland, but the actual experience of going to the supermarket, you know, buying your goods, etc. How are we, or what do we have in place to get feedback from our customers to know whether the particular products that we have existing make sense or are relevant to them? And that will now form part of our marketing initiatives to raise awareness to the new products that we have available. So that's, you know, it's a feedback loop sort of thing, where after you actually experience the service, you try to gain feedback, reviews, recommendations from your customers, and then that will in turn, you know, reflect in awareness to them for the next purchase, what is now available. So sorry about that little segue. I hope it made it a little clearer. But yes, is the customer always right? Yes and no. So the customer knows what they want, but they also don't know what they want. And how we do that is by generating analytics. You know, Netflix does a pretty good job at this, where they have their categories of movies, of series, etc. But because in the back end, they have those analytics working to see, well, okay, somebody who watched a show on dating might want to watch a movie on romantic relationships. Just saying, right? So analytics plays a big role in this whole idea of the consumer being right. And sometimes the consumer could be wrong. Yeah. And I want to use that loosely. And the reason why I say that is because there are gaps, and we really need to be mindful of those gaps and fill it. So I think you have something on the next slide that will help that.
Okay, and then I think it's very important to know that, because many times we always feel that we have to basically be in line with what the customers expect, yet we end up not solving the problems that we may basically, as organizations or individuals, discover and provide solutions to. Sometimes it's creating a need for the client. I see a lot of entrepreneurs try to create a need before you actually have your customers, make them feel they need that particular product because you've identified some of the issues. But of course, and in that regard, and even when we speak about entrepreneurs, it's all about opportunities. So what are the opportunities to enhance customer experience? Keva, some of the opportunities that you may actually have in terms of that particular life cycle, that particular whole idea, the concept of the experience. And yes, this should be very interesting. But what are the opportunities there that organizations or even individuals would be able to harness?
Well,
to improve? Yeah. Keva?
well, I mean, that question right there, for people in the audience, think about one of your experiences. It could have been one that happened today, yesterday, etc. It doesn't have to be this grand example. But what was it that really triggered your frustration, your issue with the service provider? Anybody want to give an example?
Okay.
Well, before you pull up those things, I want to hear.
So there's a raised hand. Yes, Mike.
Mike again?
Yes, yes. I don't know why, but I had a very unhappy experience with one of the air telecommunications providers, Airtel in this case, because I bought my kids some phones, and I went in and I decided, okay, instead of Safaricom, let me use Airtel, Airtel SIM cards on their phones. So I get into the shop and I see a postpaid package, which I thought was a good deal. Because a lot of us are unhappy with Safaricom anyway. We tend to think they steal a lot of our credit and so on. So I bought this package because it looked so good. But technically, I never could get the service out of it. I mean, you'd go all over the house, climb on chairs, trying to hang your phone everywhere. But you had 30 gigabytes of data you could not use. But I think that the worst part of the experience was going into their shop. In this case, for those who are in Kenya, the one on Koinange Street. And one, of course, the sitting area is not too good.
It's kind of stuck there.
Mike,
are we still using Safaricom?
Is in like the 8 times I had to chase having a phone. Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Yes, your service provider was failing you a bit.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Mike, we can hear you.
Yes, we loud and clear.
This is a very good example of customer experience failed. Whoever the service provider of Mike is needs to be on board here to just see what's happening. Yes, Mike? Are you back, Mike? Okay, Mike. I think your service provider needs to attend this particular session.
Yeah. But I saw somebody else mention about their
yes,
internet.
We can come back to Mike later. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry about that, Mike. We're not, leaving you behind, but
and we lost him. Anyone else who wants to share an experience before we proceed on good or poor customer service experiences they've had?
Nope. Remember, not good or poor customer service experience.
Remember, experience. Okay. Thank you, Keva. Anyone else? There's a raised hand somewhere who's... Princess Judy.
Well, okay.
Princess Judy wants to talk.
Okay, not seeing her. But that's okay. That's okay. I think she left a comment in the chat, again, talking about the internet service provider. And I think what Mike was alluding to was the in-house, that experience at the store. And although the internet itself is a product that, you purchase, what really turned you off from the product of the internet or the service of the internet is what enhances or enables that product to really flourish and provide what you expect it to do for you. And that's where this whole idea of the flower of service model has come from, where, you know, think of a flower that when it's healthy, its petals are healthy in good form. When it's not, they're crippled or there are no petals. So these areas here are like your petals of your flower. Information, order taking, payment, billing, safekeeping, hospitality, consultation, exceptions. These are, as I said, the facilitating or enhancing aspects of the particular product or service that you have acquired. And like information relates to directions, reminders, warnings. So I know for one that I have a real issue with service providers withholding information. And I think a lot of people could raise their hands too, because that leads to trust or lack of trust in the service provider when we don't get information. And I know, if again we relate it to the current situation that we're in with COVID-19, this pandemic, what is it that we really wanted? We want information. We want to know. We want transparency. We need to know, if I go outside, am I gonna become ill? And we need to have not just a host of information just coming at us, but we need it to be, you know, verifiable. That order taking process, that includes your ability to put through an application, etc. Billing, of course, is, you know, statements of account. So Amazon in particular, they are really good or great or the best at this whole area of customer experience, because you get, as soon as you place in your order, you say, okay, it's gonna come within 5 days, let's just say, or you dictate when you want your product to come, and then they give you reminders. So they always giving you information. You have the ability to go and check back on your past receipts. So, I mean, invoices, your bills. You know, you're not wondering at the end of the month when you see, well, my account, I know I'm supposed to have $100. Why is it saying $80? Because we get so caught up in this consumerism, you know, buying, that we could forget sometimes what we've purchased. But we could go back to our profile and see, oh, this is where I made that withdrawal. Continuing to go around, and again, James, if you continue to expand on the slide, this is reflective of the cycle. Now, bearing in mind, consultation can come before you actually make a payment. But the idea is that if you focus on these areas, you are more than likely going to have satisfied customers, because you took the time to understand that these are the areas that add value or take away from my relationship with the customer. You know, safekeeping. If we think of nightlife, entertainment industry, and heading out, just any regular store, retail store, it's the rainy season, you have to tote your umbrellas. aren't you not upset or a little bit aggravated when you enter the store and there's no repository for you to put your umbrella? So you have to walk around the store with your wet umbrella. And these are what I'm talking about. These are the areas where you can enhance your customers' interactions with your brand. You're on mute again.
Even as you enumerate those particular areas, there is something that comes clear in mind, that there's a lot of investment when it comes to customer experience. So how does an organization, or how do I, as an owner of a company, justify the expenditure on customer experience? Because ideally, at the end of the day, I can just take it as one of the statistics. I mean, I need or I don't need it, but for as long as my products are moving, I'm comfortable. I think the challenge we've had is that for as long as we are making and meeting our targets, the customer is not a very big deal at the end of the day. But with all this and the opportunities in terms of enhancing what you've just put outrightly for us to basically see how important and the benefits to derive from this. So how do we justify the expenditure? How do we justify this, Keva?
Well, I'm not sure how anybody could think that, customer experience or listening to the customer or putting yourself in the customer's shoes is not important, because I don't know where else you're getting your revenue from other than the customer. So again, it's the little things, it's the oversights that create, when they add up, the saying that every trickle fills the bucket.
Yeah.
So we have a bucket of our tolerance bucket, right? And for some people, I think we missed something. But anyway, for some people, not having the code check available or the basket to hold our umbrellas, that might be negligible to some. But when we get into the bigger things, like your level of security presence in your store, in the bank, etc., and in the digital world, those security assurances, I mean, I'll talk a little bit more about that after. But, these are the reasons why we need to focus on experience and not on solutions. Because when we think through the experience and the sum of the interactions, we could find the right solutions to implement, to innovate, to improve. There's some research data that says 1 in 26 customers complain. The rest say nothing. And I'm not sure if any of y'all are familiar with the customer complaint iceberg. That's similar to, again, keeping with the current situation, COVID-19, and how they say one person could spread the infection to 10 to 20 people, right? This one person out of the 26 customers who complain, they say on average inform 1,560 other people. So yes, that's the statistic, and where from Esteban Kolsky, another customer experience guru, practitioner. Thinkja is his company. Check out the resource. But yes, your customer complaints, your issues that you receive, this is a rich source of information. Provide a lot of insights as to where we've fallen short of providing that good service because we didn't think through the experience.
Okay, great. And I think as we even come to discussing some of those particular issues you've raised, return on investment is very important. And maybe you can take us through a bit of that return on investment for organizations, and of course, when it comes to the investment on customer experience. What is your take on that? What should companies be looking at in this regard? And of course, give us a few models. I know there are some models you may have that we could actually adopt and use in this particular regard. So please, Keva.
Okay, sure. I was dreading this question about the return on experience because I know when I first started conversations with James, I told him I really want to keep this qualitative focus on the people side of things, the softer side, which people like to neglect or, do away with, and really stay away from the numbers and the statistics. But I understand and appreciate that at the end of the day, dollars and cents matter, because that's what keeps us going. That's what puts bread on the table. But in terms of a model and a frame of reference, I like this one called the Kano model. It's from a Japanese background in terms of continuous improvement. And it looks at those areas that satisfy, or the axis is based on satisfaction and performance. So you have the must-be's. That's what, regardless of what you're doing, you have to have these in place, right? And if you don't, that's what's gonna lead to those complaints and frustrations. That one-dimensional, those are, it's not going to detract from the customer's level of satisfaction, but you're better off if you do have it in place. And then up on top, you have the delighters. So again, remember I told you that the customer doesn't know sometimes what they really want. But when you do show them something, you bet your bottom dollar, you better have it for the next time that they come, right? So this is like, for example, in a hotel, 5-star hotel. Minimum expectation is that you have concierge bell service available, and then you have a sauna as your one-dimensional, and then over on the delighters, on the bed, you put, it's very personalized, and you have this flamingo made of napkins or chocolates, etc., set out on the bed, and a complimentary bottle of champagne. The next time that this customer comes to your hotel, that bottle of champagne is basic. What are you going to do to improve on that? That's now a must-have. So it's this model helps to, again, as I said, put into perspective that customers' needs are always, and their wants are always changing based on situations and what are their, economic status, etc. And what are you doing to always improve upon that? I mean, this model could get very scientific, but just in its bare essence, I want you to appreciate that today what might delight the customer, tomorrow will be not so grand.
Yeah. So it will always change. There will always be something different coming through. So you have to step up your game always. And even as we continue with the discussion, there's a whole idea, a paradigm in terms of understanding and in terms of all this that you've actually just put here, the idea of the consumer generating revenue and the employees driving the experience. I don't know what you can say about this particular slide.
What I could say about, sorry?
I don't know what you can say about this in terms of, by the time you're listening to employees, to incentives, because I realize you say there has to be some incentive. In this particular regard, do we really need to always have an incentive for everything that we do for our clients? Because then, of course, like you mentioned, you always have to step up your game. In the hotel industry, you give me a bottle of champagne. Next time I come, will you still give me a bottle of champagne, or does it just become monotonous? You know, so is there anything different to make me feel that I'm getting a new experience every other time?
Okay, right.
So you can take us through, yes.
So again, drawing reference to the whole idea of the customer is always right. I again have a very big issue with the disconnect between, or how we distance ourselves from understanding that the employee is also a customer. And it doesn't matter if it's the employee that's on the front line, okay, or the one at the back end, at the back end of the process. You all still hearing me?
Mm-hmm.
Are you all still hearing me? Yes? I'm not sure. Are you hearing me?
Yes, can hear you.
Okay, I'm hearing you. Great. Sorry. Doesn't matter where the employee sits in the organization. We have to hear them out, because they are the ones who have the insights to tell us about the customers. Well, the external customers, those external stakeholders. And you see, top priority there is listening to them, transparency. I spoke to that again about information. We all just want to know. I want to know if you told me you're gonna come at 5 o'clock and drop off my barbecue chicken. Let me know that, okay, there's traffic, so I'm gonna come at 5:30. We just want to know, right? And employees want their opportunity to be heard, because they are the ones who are on the battlefield, really.
Yeah.
They're hearing all the customers' frustrations, etc., and venting. You know, when you look at teamwork, these are not just loose terms. These are key parts of your strategy in terms of customer experience, relationship, marketing, etc. For instance, I at one point in time used to work in the pizza franchise Domino's, right? And I remember there were times when a lot of pizzas, a lot of orders were coming in, and I was maybe there at the cash register, and you had persons on the production line. But me believing and understanding that the experience, the service, it doesn't just end at me, or my role is not just, okay, I'm entering orders. I'm a part of this service to deliver a fresh, hot pizza to the customer. So there were times when, if I didn't have anybody in front of me, why am I going to waste time just sitting down, waiting for a new person to come in, you know, the crickets going in the background? I would go throw on all my gear, wash, sanitize, etc., and get down and help the production line to speed up the process, get this thing going. So that's just in that example of pizza delivery. But you could also think in your situation, maybe there have been opportunities when you were a part of a team and you felt as though the person who you needed to get maybe some report, some data in the value chain of things, they were taking a long while, and then that held you back from, delivering. So it's really for people to understand that it's not just about me. Remove this whole idea of silos and I am just in IT or I'm just in finance, because at the end of the day, we all connect to deliver the service. You asked me about incentives. In my, again, research, just trying to understand a little bit more about the African continent and how this whole idea of customer experience, how it's adapted, or how people have really taken to it. Back to the previous slide about incentives, I understand that there are some banks in South Africa that actually award their employees for innovation, leadership, participation. So you don't have to have a big grand award ceremony. Simply saying thank you, leaving a good comment for somebody. All of those things motivate and get people going and drive and pumped up to want to do their job, which is to serve the customer.
And maybe you can, having mentioned South Africa, there's some information that you may have had some bit of interest in terms of, look at the issue of technology at play, chatbots, robots, AI. You realize the intake to that has been very low in terms of this particular survey. I don't know what you have to say also in terms of that, because in this particular next new normal or future, right now we realize banks have really survived, and especially locally, on mobile banking, internet banking, because they really didn't have to have customers walking into the banking halls, and they still had to survive. So how do you think these technologies are just going to shape customer experience? And many times you go to websites today and you find a chatbot. Would you like to chat with us? Something just pops up. How is that going to really influence the interaction as vis-a-vis having to meet someone in a coffee shop and discussing about business? Is the role of insurance marketers going to die because I can go to an insurance website and still interact with a bot, and have everything done for me? The other day I opened an account with Standard Chartered Bank online. I didn't have to walk into their banking hall. Everything online, and they told me we will deliver your card to you. And I was like, wow, this is amazing, So how is technology really going to be effective when it comes to managing customer experience?
Well, yes, you're seeing the emergence of a lot more digital interfaces. And again, remember earlier in the discussions, we spoke about how world events shape what we do and how we're able to do certain things. So we can't, some of us, we were, on tight lockdown. Some of our economies have opened up a bit. We could go out at certain times, etc. And we still want to kind of get back into being able to have those interactions. But I just find it's also very funny that all of a sudden, all of these conveniences and services and options are now very possible. And doesn't it make you wonder, why wasn't it available before? So just as you said, why couldn't I conduct my insurance transaction online before? Like, did somebody just flick a magic switch and say, okay, everything can happen like this now? And the reason why it wasn't happening before is because people weren't plotting out the customer's experience and seeing where they could innovate. We were just thinking solution. So we're just thinking about, all right, everybody is creating an app. Let me create an app. But is the app really your clientele, the culture? Do they really like to download apps? Or are they more just go on to the app once, do what they have to do, delete? You know, and all of this goes back into understanding your investment and the return on it. And you could only do this if you map out the experience, you understand all of the different elements and objects that have to interplay with each other, and fix accordingly. I mean, you know, there's a saying, why fix if it's not broken? But then consider this, why wait until it's broken? Just maintain or improve. You know, even though they say, yes, we have to go more digital, and you're seeing you could do a lot more things online, people still want an element of human interaction. So we also need to think about how are we going to adapt the employee's experience to this new norm. So our employees now going to be paid for their intellectual, you know, property in terms of understanding. When we do research, are we now going to start to pay people for these research insights? You know, so it's just about understanding where everybody's role comes in and adapting accordingly.
So to our participants, even as we wind up today's session and as we close this session, and we are learning a lot, please make a point of visiting the PwC website and just get yourself a copy of the Global Consumer Insight Survey 2019, just to help you understand also. It's just a document that can guide you, ideally. One of those tools that maybe from this particular engagement you can actually go home with, that basically is extracted from the PwC website. Please feel free, go through it, has some great insights. Keva, as you take us through some of the opportunities to improve, it is good for us to know, how do we position to success? How do we position, for success at this particular juncture? Because we have seen the opportunities, we've seen the benefits, we've seen the reason why we have stages of growth in the customer service sector. So, but how do we position ourselves for success? How can
we? I have three key ingredients when strategizing, and it's very simple: relationship management, trust, and of course your technical capabilities. So in terms of relationship management, you really want to, as you all would appreciate, that's really what I've been stressing. Understanding the internal and the external stakeholders, taking advantage of your customer relationship management, your supplier relationship management, tools, software, etc. Because you can't build relationships if you don't sit down and understand or acquire data, you know. And people like when they have a personalized touch to certain things. So, or when you remember them. I, again, recall in one of my past lives as an insurance advisor, I made it a point to remember my customers' names. So anytime I would see them on the banking floor, I would call them by their name. And my memory is one that is a little questionable sometimes, right? I could forget, as others would. But I remember one time, I got a call from a past client, and this was like maybe 2 or 3 years after I left the organization. But she still had my contact and still thought that I was involved in the business. But, you know, in her introducing herself, I said, "Oh, you are XYZ," and I was able to recount what her situation was, what she and her husband were trying to solve, etc., through long-term financial planning. And she was amazed. She was like, I can't believe you remember that. Like, that's so crazy that, you know, I'm really sorry to disturb you, and I understand that you're not in that form anymore, but, you know, I really appreciate that you remembered me. And these are the things that everybody sitting down here in the audience, I'm sure when you have these kind of experiences, you're like, wow, I want to continue doing business with XYZ, you know? In terms of trust, as we go digital, everything is driven by data. Fourth industrial revolution, you know, a key element of this is security and privacy. And I found this here by KPMG, the Consumer Loss Barometer. And, you know, they looked at different sectors, so like the financial services, automotive, retail. And one statistic that stood out to me, they said that 71% of consumers felt that retailers misuse their data. And this was more of an issue to them than hackers. So yes, all of our cybersecurity experts are here online in the audience, and we're putting in all of these lines of defense, you know, double verification, etc. But I still feel as a customer that what is the retailer going to do with that information? Who are they sharing it with? And you know, we always have these long terms and conditions that nobody really takes the time to read because it's just too long. What are we doing to reassure people? You know? And of course, your technical capabilities of analyzing each touch point, marking it against the voice of the customer, the pain points, and building trust and fostering your relationships throughout. And this is how you could position for customer experience success, in my opinion.
Good. I mean, I think they're building blocks that we could also still use and just map them into our own situation just to see how it works very well. Just to still thank the participants for staying with us. I've not seen any questions being posed, but I'm hoping that we are going to have an opportunity for that shortly. So Keva, even as we wind up, some of your parting shots when it comes to this, I see Jeff Bezos has a very interesting way of looking at customer experience. You need to be obsessed with your customers. I don't know whether we need to really have a listen to Jeff Bezos and see what he has to say.
I want to tell you everything I know. I can guarantee you everything I know. It's a very short list. This won't take long, and it's complete too. All right. Well, the first thing I know is that you need to obsess over customers. I can tell you that we have been doing this from the very beginning, and it's the only reason that Amazon.com exists today in any form. We've always put customers first. When given the choice of obsessing over competitors or obsessing over customers, we always obsess over customers. We pay attention to what our competitors do, but it's not where we put our energy. It's not where we get our motivation from. We really like to start with customers and work backwards. And again, that is the key thing that I know, and it covers a lot of other mistakes. If you're truly obsessed over customers, it'll cover a lot of errors.
That is interesting. Keva, maybe you can say something on that. Pay attention to your competitors, but be obsessed. Yes, obsessed with your customers. That is profound from Jeff Bezos. I mean, to see that that's how he may have built Amazon from ground up. It would be very good to know exactly what your thoughts are on that.
Again, because and I might sound like a broken record, but I really want to impress upon people that when we take the time and put ourselves into the customer's shoes, and you could do that with, preliminary, before any set of intense research. You could just think about your experiences and use these models, these frameworks that I shared to kind of add the logic to it, or the sequencing of how to go through it. But Amazon, the Airbnbs, the Ubers, all of these disruptive or new technologies, etc., they've come on board as middlemen because they saw where there were gaps in the service or the experience, and then they took this new industry that they've created and continued to analyze and understand how to better meet the consumer or the customer or the end user. What is it that I'm missing? Do I have enough opportunity to, or just am I giving them enough options? And that's the thing, it's about giving options to your customers. And of course, finding ways that will save money. And by doing this, looking at the holistic, the full journey, you will realize that, wow, one system could do the work of 10 independent systems. So what is the point of expending on those 10 different systems if I just properly exploit that one existing software so that we have in the back end?
Yeah, and even as we wind up this particular session, it's very good to appreciate the idea of obsession and the idea of actually looking diligently into clients. To all the participants who have joined us, I don't know whether there are any questions, burning questions. Anybody who wants to say something, you can raise our hand as we come to a close of this particular session. First of all, of course, is to thank Keva for the time, for giving us some of those nuggets of wisdom, and of course, in relation to what is happening outside there. It's good to get the expertise from across the continent, just to see what the thoughts are. What should we look as Africa? Do we look inward? One of the things we have hoped to bring out, and especially one of the important things, and why Abojani or Young by Young exists. Abojani, basically, ideally, it is important for us to know is your financial education to go to people, in terms of personal finance, in terms of investment, in terms of all that. We're trying to just help. The key thing and mandate, and one of the objectives of Abojani, is to train about 1 million Kenyans. I think in a couple of, I don't know what Robert is going to tell us a little bit more about that. I'm hoping he has a chance, but we will get to learn and know more about this. But even as we wind up, there's a polling. There's a poll that is up. Kindly please take your time to go through the poll as we close this. But then I will take some questions. How does one enhance customer loyalty? Edna is asking, Keva, how does one enhance customer loyalty? We talked about, and I think at some point when Mike alluded to journeying with your clients, knowing them, appreciating, it's a partnership. So how does one enhance customer loyalty? Keva?
Well, how would I enhance my customer loyalty? Now, it really depends on what the situation is. There's no quick fix to meeting the customer, because each one of our targets are very different. But enhancing loyalty would come from listening to their requests. And I mean, you can't please everybody, but you could surely put things in place to make their processes a little more seamless. So for example, if you just with the same poll, right? I'll use this as an example. We could have set up a Google Forms, SurveyMonkey, etc. to do this post-webinar evaluation sort of thing. But in that transition from getting you, the customer, the audience, to move from Zoom to a new platform, the chances of me losing you are very high. Right? Yeah. So, these are the little intricate things that, because people are not really going to want to have all those those changes. You try to do things to keep them where they are, maximize on that time, try and get as much from them as possible, learn about them as much as possible, and improve accordingly.
Oh, great. I have seen Dad post something there, and he says that in terms of expenditure justification, a satisfied customer is a potential returning customer who can act as a positive influencer to other customers. So that is how you justify your expenditure. It's a very, very good way to measure retaining customers at the end of the day. Yes, so thank you very much, Anton Doyle, for that particular contribution. Do we have any other?
You also have, you have your metrics, right? You have your metrics that you could use, like churn and task completion, satisfaction, etc. That will help justify your spend on customer experience. But again, I want to impress and stress that customer experience is not about, I have an app that I want my customers to use. If we understand their journey, we will see where their pain points are, and that is how their experience, how they feel, their thoughts, their perceptions about the service or the product that they're purchasing will be enhanced.
Right. Okay. Good. Any other reactions from the audience, kindly? Any other reactions, any other questions? Mike, I can see you want to speak, kindly. Thank you very much for being very actively engaged in terms of the conversation also. And if there's anybody else, please feel free. I would love to have the final words from at least most of us before we can close. Mike.
Okay, I'd ask two through the chat, but one is we talked about the customer always being right, but what about having the right customer? Because there's some customers you'll never be able to impress. Then secondly, we talked about the experience of bots. But if I look at, for example, some of the bots and artificial intelligence.
Bots, sorry, okay.
Yeah, but for a long time, if your power went out, your electricity went out, and you wanted to complain, they could keep you on the phone for 20 minutes. Now you can register a complaint in less than a minute because then it's all organized. For example, if I want to pay my bill, I don't need to get into an office and spend 2 hours trying to pay a power bill or a water bill. I can pay it in a minute flat. Same with telephone bills. So, or even registering a business. On this site, we call e-citizen. It's so easy to register or apply for a passport, register a business. So that, I think a lot of development countries has improved customer experience. And it's not about seeing someone or touching someone or smiling with someone. The experience is measured by the fact that I could get the task done at such a short time. My last point is looking at the youth, we call them .com, is there's always this joke and thing about them communicating through social media, even if they're all sitting on a table and they communicate with each other in a family So when I begin to look at this so-called new normal that has all gone technology with the Zooms, the Skypes, these guys are used to social media and communicating electronically. Yeah, not so much of hugs. Yeah, unless they're at parties. Isn't this thing going to be good for them in future? Yeah. This thing we're calling new normal might be great for them, but not maybe as great for the older people who are used to face-to-face interactions. So I think there's an aspect of the age group, other than cultures, age group classes coming in defining what might be best for businesses in those settings with regard to customer experience.
Right. I totally agree and hear you out on that. I mean, I think age, again, that's something that could be argued, because I personally, as a young person, I don't like conducting business online. I prefer that human element, that human touch. So it really doesn't matter age, but it's just about how people feel about certain things, the conveniences that they want, and grouping it according to those areas. And it's interesting that you brought up the new normal of, doing everything virtually. We're on webinars. That's how we, as I say, right now I'm in Kenya. I'm not there physically, but I'm there, via the screen. And the whole idea of webinars, people might think that that's something insignificant, but now this has to become a part of your communication strategy. Or how many people are actually thinking that this is going to become a part of your communication strategy? This is a lot of information being shared in webinars. So I'm sure people are going to start to try and figure out how we're going to monetize webinars and these virtual sessions. And then even if it's not monetized, right, and it's free, as we have right now, how am I differentiating from another webinar that might have been happening at the same time? So customers always have choice, and what is going to make them choose one over the other is how seamless they were able to conduct or transact business, their relationship with you, how you've been interacting with them before. And again, it does not have to be human interaction, but you do have things in place because you understand the customer's journey and what they have to go through or what you want them to go through. So you put certain things in place to manage and almost stage it. So this webinar, this experience, or this event is an experience. And it would have been, I would have been a fraud if I didn't ask for certain things to happen before this webinar took place, in the webinar experience for the engagement, and then post, because then I wouldn't be practicing what I'm preaching. So from the actual webinar to your Safaricom internet internet provision, all of those are chances for you to better understand who you're interacting with.
Great. Keva, any parting shots? Because we need to close. And I think even as you prepare to give us your parting shots, one of our blockchain experts in the group and one of the participants says that we need to appreciate the fourth industrial revolution. It's not just about going digital, but being efficient. So, and this is Rosaline. There will be multiple new chains of value, and it'll be critical to make it easy for clients to interact with our products and services and ultimately understand the value we are offering. So thank you very much, Rosaline. That was very powerful and very insightful at the same time. And even as Keva comes to close and give her parting shots, every great business is built on friendship. Every great business, every great interaction is built on friendship. That is JC Penny. Keva, please.
Well, again, in closing, I really want to thank Abojani, Young by Young, for the opportunity to chat with you all today. I must admit I was a bit nervous. I didn't know what to expect. But, you know, having pre-meetings to better understand what my audience would want to hear, I hope that I met those expectations, but also kind of shook up your brains a bit, and made you all do some reflection. And I hope that you find the information shared to be useful, coherent enough. And of course, you see my contact details there. If you feel free, shoot me an email. If you want to talk more or partner on any future initiatives, my goal is really to be a champion, an advocate, an evangelist for customer experience. And my mantra is let excellence be your minimum standard. So in anything I do, always strive for the best. And not just the best for me, but for the best of others. So again, thank you very much for your participation. Look forward to reading the results in the poll. And take care.
So letting excellence being your minimum standard, that is quite interesting. I think I need to carry that with me also.
Do it.
I know we had a bit of on the matter of perfection. I mean, perfection is something, of course, we all have a problem with, but excellence, if that can be your minimum standard, I think then we are doing very, very well. So thank you so much. Thank you to the audience. I mean, if at all there is any burning issue and question, Keva is free. I mean, her contacts are there. Please join and basically link up with her on LinkedIn. And of course, get in touch with her. Any organizations you feel may need some assistance or help, Keva will be very much willing to be able to assist and journey with them in terms of improving and helping them at least be in tune with their customers. So it's very important that at least we all at least have something to have taken out of this particular session. We are all customers in our own right, and at the same time, we all provide services in our own ways. Be it in our own homes, as we travel to work, and even as we engage with the people that basically give us business, people who basically interact with us in whatever arena in terms of our day-to-day. So thanks to you all. Thank you for giving us the opportunity. As Young by Young, we are grateful. As Abojani, we are also very, very, very grateful. Abojani basically is the first digital personal finance training organization, or rather, we actually do, rather as Abojani, do masterclasses on your WhatsApp. Can you imagine having a masterclass on WhatsApp for 3 good weeks and gaining a lot of experience and information about how to invest without having to attend class physically? So please feel free to get in touch, check abojani.com. Young by Young is actually rebranding itself into Futuristic Africa Network, and very soon we'll be sharing with you all that information. We are also very excited to see that we've at least attracted a lot of attention across, not just Kenya, but across the globe and Africa. So we'll be looking forward to engaging you and sharing with you all that particular amazing news as time goes by. So Asanteni Sana, thank you. And as Keva Doyle says, customer experience is everyone's business. And your business has to be basically your customer's heaven. All right. So thank you very much. And without further ado, at this particular juncture, a round of applause to all of us, a round of applause to Keva. Thank you, Mike, for contribution. Thank you. I think it's very important for me. I think personal touch is very important. Doreen for joining us, Edna, thank you very much. Irene for joining us, Louisiana for joining us. Marvin, thank you very much for being here throughout. Molly, Asante,
turn on
Ralph,
the cameras. Turn on the cameras before we go.
Thank you. You can turn off. We can turn on your cameras ideally, but I mean, I would just love to say thank you very much to all of you, the panelists, for this engaging. Robert, thank you very much for always being a support, a pillar for all this, and especially with Abojani, helping us to understand that our money is supposed to be kept close to us and not being wasted. Brenda, thank you. Elisha Odhiambo, thank you very much. Mike, thank you. Prince JD, it was good to have a princess with us. Roslyn, Asante Sana, Santo Chengo, thank you very much. So everybody else, really grateful. Brenda, it's good to see you. I can see your camera is on. Let's see who else is on. Santo Chengo, Asante Sana, Walter, thank you very much. Darkest man in Africa, but it's okay. We are all together. But I want to say I'm grateful. Have a beautiful evening and looking forward to engaging you more. We'll be having a lot more of other series programs or other sessions, and we have a couple of other speakers lined up on Matters Industry 4.0. We are going to look at robotic transformation, process transformation very soon, and we are going to be engaging with some of us in the audience today into appreciating and understanding what the future of robotics is and the businesses in that regard. So, Asante Sana, God bless us all, and may we all get along with appreciating that the customer may not necessarily be king, but the customer is a very important person in the process of the service and product design cycle. Asante Sana. Have a good evening. Good morning to those who are waking up, and also good afternoon to those who are about to have their lunch across the world. Asante.